Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new episode of F122 My Team Career Mode here on the channel. I hope you're all having a great day today. We are ready to tackle this Trackhouse Racing F1 team car at the brand new reconfigured Australian GP Melbourne circuit. So I'm very excited for this one. I've done some laps and practice and whatnot, and actually have really been able to gel with this track. So coming off of a career high so far in the Saudi Arabian GP in Jeddah with P12 after a wild race there where we saw Carlos Sainz have probably the choke of a lifetime, and it was just an unfortunate night for Carlos, who had to start in the back, go forwards, actually get some wing damage, go to the back again, try to go forwards, and then finally wrecked himself before the race came to a conclusion and threw out our first safety car of the season. We got some upgrades here on the way in between the Australian GP as well as the Italian or Imola GP, I should say, the Emilia-Romagna GP that's coming up here in Imola. So I'm excited for that one as well because we got a sprint race in that next episode, so I'm looking forward to very much recording that one and seeing how that first sprint race is going to affect this season, and in the long run see how it affects the season specifically with the point standings and if we have a close championship here. As you can see, practice wasn't going so hot for me right off the bat here. The final corner in Melbourne is a bit of a death corner because you got to be so delicate, so patient on the throttle, which is kind of the theme with this F122 car handling model so far. You got to be really delicate on the throttle, a lot of understeer, but on the exit of the corners it's a completely different animal now. So you get the best of both worlds, I guess you could say, with these cars. But practice overall went relatively calm and clean, other than that one mishap. Unfortunately, we never hit anything, we never damaged the car, but we were actually at the bottom of the grid, but I wasn't too concerned with that lap time. I knew what we had in this car. I could tell we've got some decent speed here, but obviously you can really not know what's going to happen here when we come into each track so far this season, because we're in that bottom part of the R&D. So some races it's going to suit our car a little bit better with this Trackhouse Racing team, and some tracks are not going to suit our car very well, and it turned out to be this was actually one of the circuits that wasn't suiting our car very well. Both myself and Piastri were struggling here in qualifying, and I don't even think we were close to getting out of Q1. Now, as you can see, my attempt, Piastri was only P20, so much worse than the effort that he was putting up in Jeddah. And my lap, I was curious to see what we were going to put. I made quite a few mistakes actually on this lap, pushing a little bit too hard, and I was actually happy when I came across the line and beat at least a fellow Canadian of Nicholas Latifi, and I was about almost 0.4 of a second out. So I decided to go for a second attempt here and see if we could find a little bit more time, and we had found a little bit, nearly 0.5 of a second so far at this point. Now it's actually, we're going to lose control of the car and slam into the barrier and have a big shunt and accident here in qualifying, and we're going to be out early after a huge accident. Oh, my fault, pushing too hard, abusing the curbs. You saw it right there, another onboard look with this, as it was just, I had no chance to react. It just completely snapped on me. Around into the barrier I went, and that would be the end of our qualifying. Just as quick as it started was as quick as it ended here, and that's our first big accident with the Trackhouse Racing car. Justin Marks probably not going to be thrilled with me after that one, as that is going to put an early end to our qualifying session. And unfortunately, Piastri all the way down in 20th place, and we will start 22nd. Like I said, this track so far not really suiting our car, but let's hope we have a little bit something better here for the actual GP. Let's head to the grid and see the actual starting grid. Let's get ready.
You can hear the Australian fans roaring as they line the track here in Albert Park. Welcome to Melbourne, and the roar from the crowd can only mean one thing. It's race day. So here we are at Albert Park Circuit, 3.28 miles around, with the streets making for a bumpy surface with little undulation. There are 14 corners around the lake, with the best passing opportunities coming at turn 1 and turn 3. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Charles Leclerc lines up on pole position, and a very happy Carlos Sainz will start second. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Perez, and Sir Lewis Hamilton, and Russell, Fernando Alonso, Bottas, Ocon, and Lando Norris, Gasly, Magnussen, Mick Schumacher, and Tsunoda, Ricciardo, Vettel, Alex Albon, and Lance Stroll, Oscar Piastri, Latifi, Golden Boy, and Guan Yu Zhou. And now it's time to head down to the track. Natalie Pinkham joins me once again in the commentary box. It's fantastic to have you with us today. I'm curious though, how do you think the drivers stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the rundown into turn one, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It'll keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
Ready for some lights out action here in the Australian Grand Prix. As you see, as usual, a one-stop medium to hard compound strategy, which has been just kind of the name of the game so far this season. Going into the next one in Imola, I'll be interested to see if we can maybe get a little bit different strategy there. A couple of races I'm looking forward to with Imola as well as Miami specifically. I'm loving the Miami circuit so far. I can't wait to do some My Team there now as we once again have a really good park job right there on the little grid slot now as we are ready to go lights out. It's going to be 5 red lights, and it's going to be Charles Leclerc. It's going to be Carlos Sainz, your front row, as we are underway here from the Australian GP in Melbourne. It's going to be Perez just behind a teammate of Verstappen down into turn 1, and you're going to see Russell try to make a move, or no, that's actually Lewis Hamilton trying to make a move up the inside of Perez. Didn't quite work out for him. Now, as you can see, Charles Leclerc off to a great start as usual. Leclerc has been on pole every race so far this season and has been unstoppable so far in terms of pace, but fortunately for Max Verstappen, in the last episode after Carlos Sainz, Leclerc's own teammate crashed out of that race. It brought out that safety car, gave Verstappen just enough pace, and he was able to utilize the DRS to actually allow himself to beat Leclerc at the end of that Jeddah GP. So it was a great drive right there from Max Verstappen to put the fight to Leclerc, but Leclerc is proving to be very tough to beat so far this season, and it's going to be tough for, I think, anybody, even Max Verstappen, to be able to hang with Leclerc as he continues to lead the way through the chicane. I don't think there's been a first lap this season that Charles Leclerc has not led so far. Obviously, we're only a couple of races in, so you know, a little bit of an early kind of time to be talking about a silly little trend like that. As you see Carlos Sainz trying to get a good rebound day after what happened in Jeddah, and he's currently having that, running in the second position here at the conclusion of this first and opening lap. Got to be so careful through this final turn right here as Verstappen heads through, and the AI can get through here a lot better than I can. They don't really have too much of a grip issue. I myself, though, have to be so careful and delicate, and I lose quite a bit of time there in that final corner probably every lap. As you can actually see, Daniel Ricciardo into the pit lane, he would actually pick up some wing damage on this opening lap, so he would come in and replace that front wing. I did lose one position on this opening lap to Zhou Guanyu, actually, who had to start at the back of the grid with that grid penalty, and he was able to pass me and actually make up a good chunk of time. He was already up to about P17 here now as we were all scrapping it out once again. We saw so many scraps in Jeddah. We're seeing a little bit of that elbows out mentality once again here in Melbourne as well. You got Albon, you got Latifi, his teammate there, my teammate at Piastri just in front of us. You can see actually at the end of this second lap, Lance Stroll comes into the pit lane, so he picked up some wing damage in some battles as well, so we pass him and move up into this 20th position. Ricciardo and both Stroll behind us there. Ricciardo on the medium compound tire again. It's Stroll on the soft compound tire here. As you can see, these scraps happening directly in front of us now. It was a 4-car battle with Trackhouse as well as Williams. Now is a big moment right there in that final corner. I lose a ton of time, but we don't lose at all. Thankfully, we could have been into the barrier and out of this race, but that final corner is so treacherous, and I prove it right there now. But fortunately, there was actually a side-by-side battle happening in front of us still between Piastri and Nicholas Latifi, so this would allow me to close up pretty quickly once again on this little 3-car scrap that was happening in front of myself. And look at this, by the time we come to lap 7, another moment right there on the curbing, but we're already all over the back of Alex Albon again here as we come through the chicane. Now this is actually the closest I've been on the exit of the chicane going into the DRS zone to a car so far this GP. So we have the DRS, we have the ERS on overtake, a move up the inside of Albon. Latifi's trying to go around the outside of Piastri, and that's going to be successful. I nearly run into the back actually of Oscar Piastri right there, but actually a little bit of a swap around right there. Williams passes a Trackhouse car passes a Williams car, and now we have a bit of a sandwich here with Williams in front and behind both myself and Oscar Piastri here now as we would try to stick with him and see what we could do now into the braking zone on lap 9. It's actually going to be a big lockup right there, and we lock up ourselves, and we might have run into the back of our teammate at Piastri. I couldn't tell. It was too close to call, or too close to tell if I had run into him or not, but immediately it felt like I had some form of wing damage here, kind of like what I felt in Jeddah on the last lap of that GP in the last episode. So as soon as we get out of this final corner, I need to check, do we have wing damage? And the answer is yes. On the left side, we did pick up wing damage. So fortunately, you can manage the wing damage here in this F122 game, like I mentioned in Jeddah. Our pit stop was only about 3 laps away, our scheduled stop to go into the hard compound tires, so I decided we're just going to bear through it here and see what we can do, because you can see right here, the car really wasn't driving it too bad. As I say that, we're actually going to go for a spin here out of the final corner. A race that has started to go downhill has gotten even worse there as we completely lose traction out of that final corner again, but that time completely loop it around, as Sebastian Vettel's going to nearly run directly into the rear wing of myself. What in the world was a 4-time world champion doing right there? Now is I'm actually going to let him go into turn 1 because I didn't know how hot these tires were at this point, so I decided actually not to wait till lap 13 at this point. I said let's come in at the end of this 11th lap here. Not at all what the GP I was hoping for in Melbourne. Now is we're going to come in and put on that hard compound tire as well as fix that front wing, or so I thought we were going to fix the front wing. It was set to automatic on fixing the front wing. Well, they didn't feel like the wing needed replacement, so I made a mistake right there by not turning it on to yes instead of automatic, and we still have that wing damage after putting on that hard compound set of tires. So I decided at this point, I was looking at the lap count and I just said, you know what, the car really wasn't that bad to drive. I just made a big error with spinning the car out. That made things look a lot worse than I think it actually was as we come out of the pit lane on these hard compound tires, and they're very cold, and you can see how much time I was immediately losing to Lance Stroll trying to get these tires up to temperature now. But at the conclusion of lap 13, here comes Leclerc into the pit lane as I decided, like I said, I'm going to tough it out here and just try to bring this car home on the hard compound tires with the wing damage and see what happens basically now. Leclerc in and out. Here comes Max Verstappen here. Red Bull not quite having the pace here. It's almost like Ferrari might have had an upgrade that I didn't see coming into this episode, because they've been significantly faster this weekend than Red Bull, unlike in Jeddah where they're a little bit closer. Hamilton in as well and out, and there is his former teammate from last season, Valtteri Bottas, in with that Alfa Romeo. My favorite car so far to drive, by the way, in this game is that Alfa Romeo. Such a fun car, and it also looks absolutely fantastic. And I love the wheels on that car with the design that came up with the red and white stuff, I guess we call it, there in the rims now as we come through to lap 16 though. Now still dealing with this wing damage, and we actually have yellow flags ahead, and it's Fernando Alonso who's pulled over to the side of the road, and Alonso is going to be out of the GP. So Alpine, a bit of a rough start to the season in their durability department here now, as actually you're going to see Oscar Piastri come into the pit lane now at the conclusion of lap 16. He had already pitted, so he had actually made some contact with somebody in a battle and picked up some wing damage here. So Trackhouse's day is going from bad to worse, because Piastri now has had to make an extra pit stop now to lap 18. Piastri about 13 seconds behind us on the soft compound tire, so he was closing in quickly. I'm hoping for a safety car to save my race and come in and fix the wing damage and get a second chance to do something, but you can see the gap was down to 11.9 seconds on lap 19, but then Mark tells me Piastri's slowing down because there's some kind of problem with this car, and last time we were told that Piastri had a problem with the car was in Bahrain, and we know what happened there. Piastri ended up retiring towards the end of that GP due to a mechanical failure. Now as we come to lap 23 for a later race update, now is to see Charles Leclerc leading the way. 2 races so far this season. Leclerc with a P1 in Bahrain and a second place runner-up finish last episode in Jeddah after dominating that GP and lost it in the closing moments. Sainz chasing him in second, and Verstappen down in third place. Perez off the podium, currently in fourth after one beautiful battle between him and George Russell for that final podium position in that last episode in Jeddah. And Lewis Hamilton here was putting the fight to George Russell in Jeddah, but unfortunately had some contact in that final corner, and that actually put him into the pit lane coming to the final lap, I think it was. So Hamilton having a nice rebound run as well in 5th place, and Mercedes need to make some serious upgrades quick if they want to find themselves in the mix for this World Drivers' Championship and even Constructors' Championship, because right now they just don't have it kind of like they do in real life, but I've heard they're bringing some significant upgrades to Silverstone in real life this weekend, so it'll be interesting to see what they got there. But now to lap 22, less than 10 laps to go, and Piastri is still about 12 seconds behind myself, and I was actually now lapped. I just got lapped within the last lap from Leclerc, as you can actually see Oscar Piastri on the timing comes into the pits one more time, and I think it was just because he had to actually get another set of soft tires because they couldn't go to the end. So Piastri and myself having a miserable day, to be honest, here in Australia. It just didn't go how we would have hoped it would have gone here, to say the least now, as we were just getting lapped As you can actually see on the track map though, in the left bottom of the corner, there was a yellow flag on the exit of the chicane. It is so easy to screw up that chicane, and it looks like it was actually Kevin Magnussen in the Haas for the second American team on the grid to go around right there, just looped it all on his lonesome. As you can see, the onboard camera right there, just a little bit of an overcorrect, and fortunately he was able to correct it and get away from that gravel trap, unlike Carlos Sainz. You see myself with another moment there in that final corner one more time, just for good measure, hopefully for the final time, as we actually passed Lando Norris, because Norris had made some contact with somebody in a battle and he had picked up some wing damage, so he was coming out behind us, and we're now up into a P19 running position. And actually behind us with a couple of laps to go, Norris slams the barrier on the exit of the corner, would pick up some wing damage, so as we were coming to start our final lap, he would have to pit again and get another wing replacement. Now, as you see, yellow flags again on the exit of the chicane. This time it's not for an accident, it's for a mechanical failure for our Trackhouse Racing teammate of Oscar Piastri there. 2 DNS for Oscar Piastri due to mechanical failures in just 3 races. A miserable start to his season. He didn't have any pace in Jeddah, he had good pace in Bahrain, good pace today, and it's just not working out for him so far, as it's been a miserable day for Trackhouse Racing. But it's Charles Leclerc who's going to go 2 for 3 on the season and win the Australian GP in Formula One's return to the Australian GP. That is Carlos Sainz going to be runner-up. What a rebound for him after Jeddah. Max Verstappen going to be P3. Some work to do clearly for Red Bull after this weekend in Australia. This is the furthest they've been off of Ferrari so far. Ferrari was considerably ahead, as we're going to come through to cross the line for a very disappointing record low for us so far in our F1 career of 19th place. So a bit of a learning day for us here with this Trackhouse team, and hopefully the low point of the season, as Zhou Guanyu is going to get driver of the day. Let's head to the podium celebrations with Ferrari and Red Bull.
A great race then, and a fantastic victory here at Albert Park. Natalie Pinkham, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
I really feel the track layout, combined with the track temperatures we saw today, suited their car. These cars come alive when the tyres are just at the right temperature, and the driver did a great job managing that as well. They just look so comfortable out there. It's like anything, it always looks so easy when it all just clicks.
And here we are, a team that is no stranger to the podium, taking their place on top once again. A sublime race today, and a stunning win for Ferrari.
There you see the podium right there with Leclerc on top and Sainz and Verstappen joining there in 2nd and 3rd place. Hopefully we can have one of those trophies, although that trophy doesn't look very good, very generic. I want a cool trophy, because they actually have a trophy case in this F1 22 game, so I would definitely like to add to that sometime soon, but it's obviously going to need to be some kind of miracle situation in this first season, and probably first bit of the second season, maybe even a majority of that second season, while we continue to build on this car. Leclerc, by the way, fastest lap of the GP, the only one that broke into the 119, so a fastest lap point to him. And these single fastest lap points could end up being the difference makers when it comes to the end of the season. But he has a 12-point lead over Max Verstappen, Perez, and Sainz, 3rd and 4th in the standings. Russell and Hamilton separated by just a few points, as you can see the rest of the order there. And look at all the cars that do not have any points, from Sebastian Vettel all the way through myself down towards Ricardo and my teammate of Oscar Piastri. Up at the top in the constructors, Ferrari, Red Bull, they're actually deadlocked right now, so a tie between them, and it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out throughout the rest of the season here. Can Carlos Sainz keep it clean after having a major fault in Jeddah with a nice rebound here in Australia? I want to see Carlos win so bad, not only in real life but in the game as well, to get his first win, and hopefully that can be happening soon. And going into Imola, who knows what to expect there, with a sprint race involved as well, a completely different format, 3 sprint races on the season that all match real life. So I'm excited for this first sprint race here. As we go, it's a little bit different. Like I said, you go for the free practice 1, then you have qualifying, free practice 2, sprint race, and then the actual GP. As you can see here, before we wrap up this episode, trying to get some upgrades on the way here, and these are upgrades that I'm making that are scheduled to be coming after the the Imola episode here, but we might have an upgrade or two, a few more minor upgrades coming before the next episode in Imola that could put us ahead of Aston Martin, hopefully. So let's hope that those work out here. As you can actually see on the R&D, yes, Ferrari did make a leap ahead of Red Bull going into the Australian GP, so it kind of made sense as why we saw Red Bull a little bit further away from Ferrari this time here, as now a sponsor slot is available. So in the next episode, we'll have a second sponsor on the car, and we're actually going to see a lot more sponsors on the car in general. I've also decided we're going to change the fire suit and whatnot. I actually got a new helmet. I can confirm this already because I did change it going into the next episode in Imola. So I'm excited for you guys to see the new fire suit for both myself and Piastri, the gloves, as well as my brand new helmet. Actually, I got it all from the item shop here, which I'm enjoying the custom stuff they're coming up with the item shop, with the suits and liveries and helmets so far this game. It's been really good. But that's going to do it for myself. If you guys enjoyed, you know what to do. So far, it's Leclerc versus Verstappen, just like real life. We'll see if that continues here into the Imola GP with the first sprint race weekend. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you again one more time. Have a great day, everybody.